Hello, everybody. My name is Cameron Earl, and welcome back to a. Oh, those are paint smudges from painting this room. I just moved. Okay, I was like, those ain't big bugs, are they? But I am back. It has been a minute since I want to do a little something different on my channel. Um, I've done plenty of reviews on this channel before, and I wanted to try doing book review. So I um, did a review on Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights Book 1, Into the Pit. And that video did relatively well. And I want to talk about what is probably my favorite book, honestly, which is Fetch. You know, it's the second book in the franchise. And I do plan to review all of them. I am currently on the 12th book, Felix the Shark. And then eventually, I have all of the Tales of the Pizzaplex books here, all 8 of them, waiting to be read. I don't have any of the graphic novels, so I'm not going to review those. Actually, I do have 2 of the graphic novels, and I can tell you the out of stock for the graphic novel is terrible. I don't know who they let a kindergartner draw that. But unfortunately, I don't have a computer to pull up like some details like I did last time. But I do have internet browser on my Xbox, so that's what I have open right now. So Fetch is one of actually the thicker books in the 12 book Fazbear Frights series. And that's because Fetch itself, the first story is pretty lengthy, and the last one's also really lengthy, and the one in the middle is about a medium-sized story. So you got pretty big, one of the bigger books in the franchise for sure. Let's just, so here's the cover art. You know, Fazbear Frights 2 Fetch, and there's Fetch right there. So let's just read the description here. After years of being kicked around, Greg, Alec, and Oscar are ready to take control of their lives. Greg decides to put the controversial science he's been studying to the test. Alec... Night, love you too. Alec launches a master plot to expose his golden sister for the spoiled brat he knows she is. And Oscar, ever the miniature grown-up his mom needs him to be, decides to take something he wants, even though he knows it's wrong. But as these 3 will learn, their control is fragile thing in the sinister world of Five Nights at Freddy's. In the second volume, and then it tells you his like cover from fan favorite artist Lady Fizzy, and then it promotes some books on the back. All right, well, we're gonna get into it. So the 3 stories in this book, I like them all. So the 3 stories in this book, as I recall, are Fetch, Lonely Freddy, and Out of Stock. Alright, so getting on to Fetch. So, I have the plot open. So basically what I can remember from the plot off the top of my head is Greg is working on a science project, and he wants to go visit the Fazbear Frights location, the abandoned one, for some reason, and they find this dog, animatronic, and it has this dog was constructed in the 80s, but for some reason it has the ability to hook up to a smartphone. So he does that, and it's supposed to give him commands. Well, it doesn't move except for one like little jump scare, twitch, thought it was going to bite him, and that caused them to run out of the building. And then eventually he starts getting texts on his phone, and it's the mysterious texter is like, "Hey, I'm Fetch. I'll do anything for you." So Fetch can like hear everything through his phone and stuff, and he asks his mom if he could get a candy bar, and his mom says no. She gets home and there's a candy bar in her bag, and Fetch is like, "You're welcome. There's a mean dog next door, and he wishes that dog was gone." Fetch kills the dog. "You're welcome." All eventually leading to a pretty unfortunate cliffhanger. But yeah, so we're gonna get into this. So let me just get to the plot here. So Greg is a 14-year-old who is engrossed in theories and the impact and thought and intention have on random real-world events thanks to experiment conducted by Cleve Baxter. He also has his own plans to experiment with and has been researching the 0-point field. Let me see if I can find a list of key moments. Let's graphic novel differences, speculation, blah 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 blah. No, honestly, I think I have everything down here. I think I have everything right. So let's get into the story. I really enjoy Fetch. I think I had a little list in my head, and I think Fetch was like number 4 or 5 out of the stories I've read so far, which is all but 2 of them. And well, actually 3. I didn't read any of the Stitch Race stuff, like the epilogues at the end. So Fetch. First of all, the main protagonist. How old did I say he was? 14. I don't remember how likable he was. I remember I don't think he was unlikable. I'm pretty sure he was just a little obsessed and whiny throughout the story. But he also has this dog on his back. So let's see. Greg returns home, and there's also a thing with his uncle. His uncle Darren has a magic finger, and so eventually, Fetch is killing dogs. Like Fetch starts getting all these little things for him, and he's like, okay, this is really weird, but you know what, I can deal with it. But I still want to get rid of this dog, and also none of his friends believe him. And then eventually, it kills the dog, and he's like, oh my god, I can't believe this dog did this. And then he really needs to start getting Fetch. And then I'm pretty sure he has a bad day. Let's see. Greg quickly catches the dog and pushes it away from his throat. What is this? Yeah, eventually he gets attacked by the dog. Greg quickly catches the dog and pushes it away from his throat. Once safely home, he texts Howdy about the incident. That night, Greg has nightmares about being chased by Fetch, a faceless man, and the dog next door in the abandoned pizzeria, while plants grow and an REG spews out zeros and ones. In the morning, he finds the neighbor's dog again, and his bike with its throat torn apart and its belly gutted. Yes, very graphic death of a dog. He retrieves garbage bags, discards of the corpse, and gets a text from Fetch saying, YW, aka, you're welcome. 2 days later, Greg convinces his friends to join him going back to the abandoned pizzeria. They find dog tracks and 4 life-sized animatronics. The dog chases them out of the pizzeria, but they learn that it wasn't Fetch. It was just a stray, so they go back and learn that Fetch is no longer in the building. Trying to find... Eventually, he gets in an argument with his friends. They don't want to be in any more Fetch drama. That night, Greg looks into ways of getting more money for his experiments. He tries texting Dare, telling him he needs his magic finger of luck. Fetch responds instead. But Greg is too tired to see any issues and goes to bed. Around 4:30, he wakes up and panics. Greg tries calling Dare, but gets no response, so he quickly puts on a hoodie and sweats. Racing to the door, when he opens it, he falls to his knees at the sight of Dare's finger laying on the mat. His mom comes downstairs crying and informs him that Darren was attacked by a wild animal which tore off his finger and mauled him. Dare's in the hospital getting surgery, and it will be a while before they can visit. So, yeah. He unknowingly says he texts his Uncle Darren that, he needs the magic finger of luck because, he just got in an argument with his friends, Fetch is stressing him out and everything. Well, he didn't think about the fact that the dog gets whatever he wants. So the second he does that, Fetch goes and fetches his uncle's finger, mauling him in the process, as well as completely mutilating his hand to get that finger off, and drops it right on Greg's front doorstep. So obviously Greg runs outside in shame, and this is the point of the story where he finally sees Fetch. After discovering him in the pizzeria and leaving him there, this is the first time he sees Fetch. He sees Fetch near the back of his yard. He gets a baseball bat out from his dad's pile of sporting equipment and destroys Fetch, hiding his parts in a depression under driftwood logs. Yeah, he just completely destroys Fetch. And eventually he gets so angry, he destroys all of his plants and experiments and stuff in a fit of rage. And He takes a hot shower and gets dressed, only to discover. Greg then gets a phone call from Hattie, who tells him that Kimberly is looking for him. Kimberly is this girl who's into the same science he is, and um, he's really into her. He has a really big crush on her, and that's one of the underlying plot points of the story, where he's having a crush with this girl, but Fetch is kind of getting in the way of that. He takes a hot shower and gets dressed, only to discover a new text from Fetch, simply saying, "Will retrieve." So yeah, even after destroying Fetch, Fetch is still active. Greg rushes to outside, only to find a few screws where he hid Fetch's parts, and he waits for the bushes for Kimberly. When she and her parents get home, he jumps out and explains everything to Kimberly, but her parents call the police as they think he's crazy and stalking her. It's kind of funny. So yeah, he gets arrested, and he gets released, and he goes upstairs. Greg's father insults Greg once they get home, and he retreats upstairs to take a shower. When he's done and opens up the bathroom door, he falls to the floor upon seeing something bleeding wrapped in a beige sheet. Greg questions who or what it is under. He thinks he knows everything he needs to. Suddenly, he receives a message from Fetch. "See you." As in, see you later. So, yeah, basically the cliffhanger is all but for sure. Fetch said will retrieve. After Greg completely destroyed Fetch, or so he thought, Fetch got back up and said, "I'll retrieve your girlfriend. You want to see your girlfriend? I'll get her for you." So Greg goes all stalker mode on his girlfriend or crush to save her, and eventually, and then her parents think that he's crazy, and they get him arrested for like a day. And then he gets out, and he's like, "I wonder if Kimberly will be safe." And then he opens the bathroom door, and she's right there, under that mat, dead. And that's where the story ends. The story ends right there. And I still don't think that we have any... No, I don't think we have anything here. Alright, so getting on to the second story, let me find Lonely Freddy here. Yeah, next story, Lonely Freddy. Oh, Fetch, I give an 8 out of 10. The only problem I had with the story is that it kind of drags on a little bit, and I'm not the biggest fan of the cliffhanger. I forgot this was a book review and not just a summary. Okay, so Lonely Freddy takes the simpler approach, and just goes for a sibling rivalry that gets really weird at the end. So what's this guy's name? Alec. Alec is his name. So Alec lives at home. He's a 15-year-old, and how old is his sister? It doesn't say how old his sister is. But anyway, his baby sister, she's really young, but he thinks she's a complete brat. And he's a 15-year-old edgy teenager who lives at home with his mom, dad, and little sister. He hates his little sister. He thinks that, his sister's a spoiled brat, and eventually he tries to expose her brattiness by setting her up to do something bad to make her seem not so perfect in the eyes of their parents, because he's the black sheep of the family, and they see him as the bad kid. Eventually, his sister's like, "Oh, I'll do it. I'm a misfit little girl. I'll get them to like you." And she starts being really nice to him and trying to, help him, get approval from his parents for being the ultimate edgelord or whatever. I shouldn't have said that. But, and then she's like, "Wait, is my sister actually, just as misfit as me?" But eventually he starts thinking that this whole thing is a ruse, and he goes right back to trying to prove that she is a spoiled rotten brat. So she has a birthday party at Fazbear's Pizzeria, and eventually there's this toy he wants. He wants this like a little foxy toy, and she wants it too. And he's gonna flip out if she gets it. But there's also this toy called Lonely Freddy, which is obviously the name of the story is Lonely Freddy, which it's this foxy toy is super cool, and I don't know, it's like a battle foxy or whatever. I'm not even sure. Lonely Freddy is for kids who are lonely and have no friends. Lonely Freddy will be your companion. So Alex sees that as like people who have those are losers. Well, eventually, so her birthday, they have like a little ticket booth thing, like a Chuck E. Cheese ticket booth thing that'll spit out tickets, and if she gets the red ticket, she wins the Foxy toy. And the tickets are in, I'm pretty sure they're in this, I'm going off memory here, I'm not reading anything, I'm pretty sure they're in this bin, and he goes through the bin with all the tickets in it, and he takes out the red one, and he's like, yes, I won. She's going to start screaming and crying and throwing a tantrum when she doesn't get that red ticket for her Foxy toy. Lo and behold, she exits the machine, and she has that red ticket. She gets the Foxy toy. But what he doesn't expect is that in his blind rage, she tries to give it to him. She's like, on her birthday, she's like, I want this toy for you. I want you to have it, big brother. And he just fucking snatches it from her, rips the arm off or whatever, and just starts flipping out. It's like, you're not going to manipulate me. You're not going to make me think you're a good sister. You're a spoiled little brat. And everybody's just looking at him like he's crazy. So, I tie this back to that Goosebumps episode where I'm pretty sure it's the clock, the old man clock, or the grandfather clock. Yeah, that's what they call him. And his sister's like the worst little girl in the world, so he breaks the clock and blames it on her, and she gets in trouble. But that whole time you're rooting for that kid because his sister's actually like awful. In this book, no, you're actually rooting against the protagonist because his sister, like, I went into the story, I'm like, oh yeah, his sister's definitely, like, really annoying, isn't she? No, it turns out his sister's actually a really sweet little girl, and he's just a douchebag. So eventually, he runs away with the Foxy toy, he throws it to the side after going into the back rooms of the Fazbear's Pizzeria. He ran into, like, an employees-only area, and he hides in this room when he hears his parents coming, looking for him. And he's not supposed to be in here, in this area. So he goes to hide in the back of this room, and he finds a Lonely Freddy toy beside him with his eyes glowing blue. And this Lonely Freddy starts asking questions. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite subject in school? What's your favorite food? All these questions that like a young friend would, like a friendly Fazbear would ask you. And he starts answering all of them. And then eventually the questions get a little more personal, I'm pretty sure. And here, let me skip to the end here. I literally... Alec is infuriated. His plan was for Hazel to miss out on the fox, throw a massive tantrum that he was sure she was storing up all week, and expose her for the spoiled brat she really was. With his plan completely destroyed by Hazel's kindness, Alec throws a massive tantrum and rips the fox out of her hands, tearing its arm. When Hazel starts to cry, he runs away until he's far enough away to begin to break down crying. Alec finds a door and hears out loud thumping behind it. It's a storage room, and he sits down to cry more, thinking back to all the happy times his sister had and how he ruined her birthday. He throws the Yarg Foxy plush into a pile of toys, and as he's looking for it, the thumping comes back. Alec finds a dumpster, and when he approaches it, the box violently shakes and he stumbles back into a Lonely Freddy bear. The Lonely Freddy suddenly activates and Alex finds himself unable to stand up or look away. It starts asking him, he's immobilized completely by this Lonely Freddy. And it starts asking him simple questions about himself, and Alec answers them truthfully. Then the questions take a turn and get more personal, ending by asking Alec what his biggest regret is. When Alec tells the bear that it's hurting Hazel, the bear's eyes turn green, and Alec is unable to move or speak. He hears his mother and Hazel, but they enter the room, and they hear the giant bin thumping. They find the Yard Fox plush and don't see Alec, and he listens as Hazel starts to cry over Alec's outburst and his mother trying to comfort her when they leave. Alex slowly begins to regain control of his body. He notices that the lonely Freddy is gone, but focuses on moving. And then I'm not going to read that last thing, because I can recall what happens. So eventually, he starts being able to move more and more, and eventually he manages to barely get his way over to the door, and he's like, wait, this door's really big. And he just kind of starts, like, moseying his way over as fast as he can outside, outside of those rooms, because he can barely move. And then he sees himself sitting right next to Hazel, being a great brother. He's like, wait. And he discovers, oh my god, that bear just got all my personal information and turned into me. And now I am the lonely Freddy. And then, he's thrown into a bucket and sees the fake Alec. Yeah, and the fake Alec winks at him too, which is just so sinister. They make a quick stop to the men's room, and Alec then sees himself in a mirror where it's revealed that he's trapped inside the lonely Freddy. The employee decides to throw Alec away in the dumpster from earlier, which has the one that was shaking violently, which has dozens of lonely Freddys inside. Alec screams, but soon realizes that the screams aren't only coming from him, they're coming from the other lonely Freddys too. So yeah, that's the story. Crazy ending. For such a simple, sibling rivalry story, it sure, like in the last 10 pages, got heated up. Crazy story. Also, another crazy cliffhanger. These books are really good at that. So Lonely Freddy's probably my least favorite story in the book, but I still really enjoyed it. Although if it had, not such an unlikable protagonist, it would be higher. But yeah, I'd give this story a nice, 6 out of 10. It's a middle of the road story. It wasn't too long of a story. It's but the chapter lines, it's right in the middle. There's the shortest story in the book. It wasn't bad. But I don't know. These other two stories in here just seem to do it better for sure. And oh boy, here we go. Out of stock. I love Fetch. I love the Fetch story. I like the Lonely Freddy story. Out of stock is my favorite Fazbear Frights story. And it's the favorite of a lot of people. I'm pretty sure Out of Stock is the fan favorite. If you watch a lot of rankings, a lot of people have Out of Stock at number 1. But yeah, Out of Stock is just so good. R.I.P. to the graphic novel. That was terrible. Kindergartner drew that. It was absolutely awful. I feel so bad. I was so angry when I saw how bad that was when I bought it. Alright. Let's get started into Out of Stock. So, basically the story starts out, Oscar is a sophomore in high school. Wait, he's a sophomore? I did not realize he was that. I did not realize he was that old. Oscar is a sophomore in high school who just can't seem to win at life. His father contracted a fatal infection while getting a tonsillectomy. His family had to move into a cheaper neighborhood, and he spends most of his time assisting his mother at the Royal Oaks nursing home. Oscar learns the Plush Trap Chaser, a light-activated mechanical rabbit. It's literally just Plush Trap from FNAF 4. Like, if you're thinking of the antagonist of this story, think of Plush Trap, because that's literally what it is. It's a light-activated little Spring Bonnie toy that bites. It's literally Plush Trap. Oscar learns that the Plush Trap Chaser, a light-activated mechanical rabbit, is going to be on sale on Friday morning, which is an inconvenience for him and his friends Raj and Isaac. They try to make it through the school day, however, Oscar is called out early to assist his mother with a patient. So he eventually manages to calm the patient down, and he ditches his helping his mom at the nursing home to go to the mall with Oscar, or Oscar ditches his mom at the nursing home They go to the mall and meet up with Raj and Isaac at the Emporium, and they explain that every store has run out of these Springtrap chasers. So eventually they go into the store, and the line is out the door. Eventually they get up in line, and everybody's complaining about the no spring, the new Spring Bonnie Chaser toy. They only have one left, but it's really weird because it has human eyes, or what look like human eyes. Eventually they probably are human eyes. It has human eyes and human teeth. It doesn't have the teeth that all the other ones have, or the eyes. No, this thing has legitimately looking human eyes and human teeth. Well, that it has a no not for sale sign by it, so nobody wants anything to do with it. Well, eventually they sneak behind the counter and they steal the toy and they make a run for it. So, and they do eventually escape the cops by jumping over a fence and getting on their bikes and riding away. And at home, they try to activate it, they plug it in, they find an on switch, everything. They turn the lights off, make it completely dark in the house, and they're like, wait, why is this thing not working? It's just completely dysfunctional. So while Isaac and Raj are playing video games, that's another thing I really like about this story. All of these protagonists in pretty much all of these books are just going through these things by themselves. And this story, I really like how it actually gets like 3 people involved with the monster, so it's not such a terribly lonely feeling. Oh, puppy's scratching at my door. Oh. She'll find one of her puppy pals to play with. Where was I? Oh, yeah. He doesn't have to go through this alone, which I really like, because sometimes, the story's like, oh, so nobody else is experiencing this, so, like, if they get out of this unscathed, nobody's going to believe them, they're just going to look like they're crazy their whole life. No, like, these kids act like it's actually multiple people going through this. And I think the way that they help each other survive, the upcoming terrorization, is really good, or really well played. So eventually Oscar is just watching his friends play video games, and eventually it's during a storm, and eventually the power goes out. Hang on, wait. There was something else. The boys return to Oscar's house, and while Raj and Isaac play a game, Oscar fiddles with the plush trap chaser more, discovering a tiny port on the side of the plush trap's jaw. His mom calls to ask for his help tomorrow, which upsets Oscar as it takes away from trick-or-treating, and he angrily admits to stealing the plush trap as Storm cuts the call. Oscar gets a charger and plugs the plush trap in, but when he does, lightning strikes, blowing the room's power out and launching Oscar. Yeah, the outlet exploded, and it sent Oscar flying. The boys go to discuss their trick-or-treat route when in the living room, with Oscar closing the door to his room. Oscar reveals to his friends that he can't join them, and as they try to cheer him up, a lightning strike blows the rest of the power out in the neighborhood. There's a thing I'm missing. I'm remembering when Oscar retrieves a flashlight for him and Isaac as Raj uses his phone, and they hear something banging against Oscar's door. They watch in horror as the plush trap chaser begins chewing through the wood of the door. This freaking thing just starts biting through the wood of this door, sharpening its teeth, which gleamed and bleed in the darkness. Like its gums are all like splintered and bleeding, really graphic. It kicks open the door and chases them into Oscar's mom's room. It's about to attack Isaac when they remember the toy deactivates in light. So Oscar holds his flashlight as the toy, and in the process, they discover it can mimic voices. Yeah, it says something that his mom said on the phone to him. It mimicked him. The power runs out quickly, and they are chased into the bathroom as Isaac retrieves his lost flashlight. Yeah, so this is the worst time during a power outage, and this thing is chasing you, and only light can stop its movement and its rampage. And it's chewing through every door, by the way. Raj tries to call the police, but the phone lines are down. Oscar uses Isaac's flashlight to let his. They have Oscar Isaac. That's an actor's name. Oscar and Isaac. That's why I'm getting confused here. That's the guy who plays Moon Knight. And Poe Dameron. And many other characters. Oscar uses Isaac's flashlight to let his two friends escape to the kitchen, but he hears them arguing and learns the phone is there and there is down too. They then try moving the plush trap chaser, but it's stuck to the ground, and Oscar is forced to sneak past it as the flashlight dies. Yeah, so this flashlight, they're banking on this flashlight lasting just long enough so he can sneak out of the bathroom. And he's just like squeezing past this thing that is capable of chewing through him in an instant. And the flashlight dies. They try to use Raj's phone flashlight, but it slips out of his hands and is destroyed by the plush trap. Someone's blasting music outside. The kids are chased into the garage, and as they try to open the garage door, Oscar makes a plan to run to a nearby train tracks, hoping for a train. They barely manage to escape the garage and reach up a hill before the tracks. They see the light of the train and are excited, but the plush trap is already caught up. Yeah, the final big chase of this thing is he's chasing them on the bike. He chews through the garage door, and he just straight up chases them through the woods while they're riding on their bikes. Eventually, they do get to the train tracks. Oscar yells at his friends to jump across the tracks, and after some hesitation, they do, leaving Oscar to face it alone. Yeah, they have to go down this really steep hill towards the train tracks, and I think they lose their bikes along the way. Oscar yells at his friends to jump across the tracks, and after some hesitation, they do, leaving Oscar to face it alone. He steps onto the tracks and waits for the right moment, and eventually he jumps, just barely dodging the train. Once the train is gone, the boys look at the tracks, finding the scattered remains of the plush trap chaser. Along the bloody teeth and a single intact eyeball, the next night Oscar helps hand out candy at the nursing home. He catches up with the patient from before and gives his mother a Halloween gift as an apology. The two hug, with her apologizing for depending on him so much. Oscar comforts her, telling her and himself that everything's okay, and lets her hug him for a good long while. Yeah, so I love this story. The friendship between the three main protagonists, Oscar, Isaac, and Raj, excellent. You know, just straight up nerdy school friends who really want to play with this new toy. And eventually they do steal it, and you kind of forget about the fact that they steal it throughout the story. And then you're like, oh wait, they did steal this thing, didn't they? It's even on the news at one point in the story. I read through this article. But it's just like, you feel the horror when the plush trap activates, because, you know, there's multiple scenes or multiple points throughout the book where they're just messing with this thing, trying to get open. There's like 3 or 4 of them before the thing finally activates, and you're like, oh, they're going to do something, and this thing's going to turn on. It's just going to start attacking them, and it never does. And then the lightning strikes, and they're making plans for Halloween, and suddenly this thing just starts biting through the door. And then it starts chasing them. You know, there's even a point, I'm pretty sure, when it's about to attack Isaac and they get it with the flashlight. I'm pretty sure they're standing on his mom's dresser, and Isaac actually falls off, and he stops the plush trap just before the plush trap could get to his friend, and they sneak past him with the flashlight. And then, of course, when they're trapped in the bathroom and have to sneak past him, that's a really good moment. And throughout the story, to think he was mimicking him, his mom's voice. And I'm pretty sure, I could probably find the last page of it. I'm pretty sure it mimics his mom's voice. Yeah, as the plush trap got caught in the light of the train, so it couldn't move. It says, "Little man, I need you," in his mom's voice. And then it gets hit by the train. So yeah, this article kind of skipped some vital parts, but it, it's just kind of a summary. But yeah, after going over every story, I give Out of Stock a 10 out of 10. You know, this is the second book I read. It's the 6th story I read. I've read through what? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, I've read through 34 stories so far. This was the 6th one I read, and nothing has. There's been close ones, but nothing has topped out of stock for me. And Fetch also being as good as it is in my eyes. Yeah, this is probably my favorite book. But phenomenal stories. Fetch is a really good antagonist. The Plus Trap Chaser gives us some of the most suspenseful moments. Out of Stock is probably one of the most suspenseful stories out of all of these. It's like the Alfred Hitchcock movie of Fazbear Fright books. It's just so good, man. Like, the chases and the fact that this thing is just a sheer terror and it's just these 3 kids trying to escape it and they literally can't do anything against it. And the build up to it's also really good. Like I said, Fetch drags a little bit. Lonely Freddy's just okay. The protagonist is really unlikable and you really have nobody to root for, really. But yeah, overall I give this book an 8 out of 10. Yeah, Lonely Freddy drags it down a little bit and Fetch is that 8 out of 10 story, but Out of Stock, I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. There we go. Yeah. Just really good. Even if, like, and another thing that all these stories did, as well as all the stories in the first thing did, is they all link to Five Nights at Freddy's in some way, and some of the stories later in the books don't do that. Some of the stories later don't link to Five Nights at Freddy's at all. I think there's like 4 of them that have no link to Five Nights at Freddy's. But yeah, thank you everybody so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.